The first and probably most important thing I need to do, congratulations. You all should be super proud of yourselves. It was a very competitive environment this year. We had a large number of submissions into the challenge. And you were likely, if you're here, you were likely one of those top 20 teams, or you were a team that I talked to after the results and I said, look, you were right on that bubble. There is like one little mistake you made that took you out of contention for the top 20, but I encouraged you to move forward anyway. So regardless of if you were in one of the top 20 or not, you deserve a congratulations for doing a really, really nice job and submitting a very interesting proposal. My job from this point forward is to help you create the best possible solution you can. I will never from this point forward be a reviewer for you. My only job is to make certain that each and every one of you wins this competition and every penny in it. Now, obviously, I'm going to fail more than I succeed in that effort, but that is what I'm going to do. And that is the way I will treat each and every team, trying to make certain that you win this challenge. The big question everybody has always in kind of setting the stage for all this is what exactly is the timeline? And we'll get into expectations in a minute. But broadly, the timeline is this. You already hit that January 25th date. We'll talk about the $500 later. But the January 25th date came and went. You submitted your ideas. You're sitting here now. The next big date is March 15th, 2023 by noon. Now, please note, I said by noon, that's 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is typically midnight. We have a very truncated review period this year. So I need your submissions by noon so I can get them out to the reviewers by that end of that business day. So March 15th by noon, I will be looking for submissions from you that we'll talk about a little bit later, but spoiler, it's a 5-minute video and some supporting documentation over top of it. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. What we will do is then we will send that out to a group of reviewers, about 30, 35 of them, and they will watch your videos. Then you will participate in a live Q&A with those reviewers. And these are reviewers from our sponsoring companies. There are companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, Lockheed Martin, Accenture. Usually we have people from the city of Philadelphia, AWS. Who else is there? Data IQ, Leidos. A lot of different companies are represented at that. And you'll have a live Q&A between your team and those reviewers after they have watched your videos. At the end of all of that, those reviewers will help us determine the top 10 teams that will each receive $1,500 and support to move forward in building a minimal viable product. As always, we never close the door on you. If you do not get selected as one of those top 10 teams, but you want to persist, we will support you in any way we can in building an MVP and coming for the end of the whole thing. We're not going to get in the MVP phase. That's for you to worry about later. Right now, your focus is on March 15th by noon, getting the best possible submission video in on that date. Specifically, there are a few things that are going to happen. And these are a couple of the first things that you might want to jot down as notes to yourself. Like I said, I'll send out this presentation after, but a couple of these things you want to highlight for yourselves. I already mentioned Patty should have reached out to all of you in the top 20 teams or those who I've talked to already to schedule bi-weekly meetings with me. Those will be scheduled for a half an hour. They probably won't take a half an hour, but I want to make certain that I have that time on my calendar if you need it. Otherwise, they might take 5-7 minutes. It's me checking in, seeing how you're progressing. If you're hitting on all cylinders, it might be a 3-minute meeting and we'll be done with it. I'm not going to waste your time. But if you need me, I will be there to help, okay? And that's what those bi-weekly meetings are for. It also kind of holds your feet to the fire a little bit. It's really easy to be like, oh, I'll do that next week, or, well, we can take a week off. When you know you're going to be talking to me, it's a little bit of extra pressure to make certain that you're making progress on a regular basis. So it's one of the other reasons I do that. One thing that I need by the end of the week this week, so this is a big note for yourself. This is super easy to do, but I need this. I need from each one of the top 20 teams. So only if you're one of those top 20 teams, I need from you a 1 to 2 sentence description of your project, of the thing that you're going to be creating. Okay. I could extract this from your idea proposals, but I don't want it to be in my words. I want it to be in your words, because what we do with these is we use these descriptions that you give me for our press articles, which there will be a number of press articles that will come out about the top 20 teams. We may write blog articles about you. We might reach out to you to see if you're interested in writing a blog article. When we do social media postings, all that type of stuff, we use your description of your team for referencing you. I want to make certain that it's in your words. So by the end of the week, I would like each and every team to send me very short, 1, maybe 2 sentences description of your project. This is kind of focused on what your impact is going to be. You know, what exactly are you? If someone caught you in an elevator and said, "Hey, what's that project you're working on?" What would you tell them? You probably wouldn't give them a biography of all your team members. You'd tell them what you're going to do. Okay, and that's what I'm looking for as well. One of the things that we're doing this year that we've never done before, and I'm really excited about, is every single Tuesday night from 7:30 to 9 p.m., the Nittany Ai Student Society, that's that abbreviation, Nittany Ai Student Society, which is our affiliated student organization, will be running grind sessions to help you in any way that they can. They will have at those grind sessions AI machine learning experts that can help you. Avi is our AI lead. He is extremely talented and will be able to help you out when you're running into issues. So on the technical side, he's there. We have Regina, who knows UX and UI design and can help you on that side of things. We've got a number of different individuals who are experienced in presentation and how to kind of couch and build your video and the narrative structure you're going to have there. So there are all these people there that can help you with everything, including team management and project management and all of that, every single Tuesday from 7:30 to 9 p.m. It will be in person, but we will also have a streaming option for all of those of you who are at Commonwealth campuses. There will be a streaming session with somebody monitoring the stream as well throughout all of that. Details will be posted in the Discord, and I will also do reminders in the GroupMe every single week as a reminder of those. They're not required by any means, but they're a resource there for you. I encourage you to take advantage of them if you want. The next thing, and again, this is not required, but it is highly, highly recommended. And I know this is short notice for some of you, but this Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Hub 611, and also live streaming, which I'll send out the live stream link for that, will be a session on design thinking approaches. This is user-centric design and design thinking. If you've never heard of design thinking, I highly encourage you do some creative Googling and kind of get a quick crash course on it because it will be very, very valuable for your development approach. I'll be running this one. It'll take about an hour. It'll be kind of hands-on interactive, and you'll get an opportunity to kind of think about or figure out how design thinking could help you build a better prototype for this phase of the challenge. And like I said, that'll be 7 p.m. on this Wednesday. Details will be posted in Discord, on our website, and in GroupMe tomorrow morning. Okay. And then finally, this is the big date. This is one you should have Post-its up around on your monitors and on your laptop, reminding you by noon on March 15th, 2023, this year, roughly what, 6 weeks from now, I think, you will need to submit to me 2 things. First, you need to submit to me a 5-minute or less pitch video showing or explaining what the problem is that you're trying to solve, what your solution looks like, and providing a demo of that solution. Okay. The next slide, I'm going to show you an example, a top example from last year, because this is the one thing that people always ask me about and that you all get so nervous about. What kind of video? What does it look like? How should I do it? I'm going to show you an exemplar video from last year so you can kind of get a sense of what those look like. So I said two things. The first one's a video. The second one is written documentation to back up that video. So the written documentation is all the details about your project that you can't fit in a 5-minute video or that are not appropriate for a video. Very often, these are things like your team bios. These are things like your technical approach and technical details of your solution, maybe some additional facts and figures and quantitative measures, those types of things. To help you along with that, I provide you a template with all the headings for the sections that I recommend you use for your documentation. The instructions are at the link that's here. It's a bit.ly link, so you can probably type it in just while I'm talking, but also it'll be a live link when I send out these slides. But there are a couple different things you can download there. One of them is a template for that written documentation. The written documentation doesn't have to be crazy. I had a team, I was second guessing whether I talk about this, but I had a team, I think it was 3 years ago now, so I feel comfortable talking about it because I think they're all graduated. But I had a team 3 years ago that submitted over 100 pages in documentation. It was crazy. Nobody read that. I mean, imagine if you're a reviewer and you've got 20, 23 teams to review, are you going to read 100 pages for one team? Of course not. So that was way overkill. And it wasn't even a lot of charts and stuff. It was a ton of narrative. Some of the best documentation that we've had submitted have been in like the 5 to 7 page range. Maybe 10 pages if you've got some charts and graphs and things that illustrations, things that take up space. But it's basically your idea proposal plus a little bit more detail because you've had a little bit more time to work on it. So that is what the documentation should look like. And again, this is something that I will work with you on during our bi-weekly meetings. But I want to make certain that you are aware of what is due: video and documentation. So along those lines, let's take a look at one of the videos. This is a video from a team last year that was working. Well, I'll let them speak for themselves. When you're watching this, take note of a couple things. Take note of what they're talking about. Take note of how they talk about it. Do they give evidence? Do they give facts and figures? Are they appealing to emotions? Take note of some of these things. And then also take a good note of what their demo looks like of the prototype that they built. So no further ado, here you go.
Many of us wake up each day and take a hot shower, brush our teeth at a seemingly limitless faucet, and never worry about where to get a drink. Meanwhile, 450 million children around the world cannot access all the water they need. Insufficient water, sanitation, and hygiene have a hand in the deaths of 700 children under age 5 every single day. People in areas of high water vulnerability struggle to meet their everyday needs for enough clean water and suffer tragic consequences.
Rural areas are particularly vulnerable. Communities often rely on water points rather than pipe supply systems. These water points include community wells, standpipes, and boreholes. The World Health Organization reports that 663 million people rely on unimproved sources. Of these, 159 million use surface water. Even as governments, NGOs, and communities install thousands of improved water points, their supplies can be unstable and costly to monitor. With climate change and amplified weather extremes, safe water scarcity is exacerbated. As droughts deplete water supplies and elevated temperatures favor deadly waterborne pathogens, rising seas leak salt into fresh water, and extreme storms and flooding pollute and contaminate water sources.
While the sources of clean water for people around the world are stressed, there are efforts to help. Government and non-government entities alike are willing to assist, but they lack the necessary information to act upon. Data gathered from water points is often outdated or inaccurate, rendering it unusable for those who wish to provide relief. Our research shows that monitoring water points is instrumental to the health of their users. With accurate, current data about the vulnerable water points, organizations can offer humanitarian aid when water points become contaminated or unusable. Warnings to avoid one water point and use another could save valuable time for people who must spend their days collecting water. They could even save lives. We present to you AquaSafe AI, a solution which tracks water quantity and quality of water points. It leverages motivated citizens and scientists armed with cell phones to create a new system which gathers information, detects abnormalities, and informs authorities about trends that are difficult to detect from observations. The app will allow individuals to report data about their water points. Then, AI filtering will determine whether the input is trustworthy. An AI clustering algorithm will predict abnormalities in the filtered data, signaling that a water access problem exists. The app will then display the data and the output of the AI, allowing users to see abnormalities as they are being detected. Our solution provides a detection system for problems and trends, revealing the abnormalities to non-government entities and governments before they can become widespread and potentially catastrophic.
Here, we will briefly show the interface of the app that AquaSafe will be using to interact with its users. If users haven't registered, they'll be asked to identify themselves as either an affiliate or non-affiliate. Non-affiliate meaning just a regular public user. They will then see this page where they'll be asked to add basic details such as their names, phone numbers, and address. If they're an affiliate user, they'll be asked to provide details of their organizations as well. Once they're done, they'll be taken to the index page where they have a few choices. Going into Report Water Access, users can type in the name of their water point into a search field, or quickly select water points they've already visited for the sake of convenience. And so finally, they'll be taken to a survey which will ask them various questions about the water point they visited. This particular set of questions has been carefully designed to be non-complex and answerable by physical observation alone for public users.
Our progress to date includes the development of a prototype application, the clustering AI algorithm, database design, and the conception of an unsupervised novelty detection algorithm. We will use the unsupervised machine learning algorithm so AquaSafe AI can function without human interference. Our next steps will include further development of the AI, extensions to the app to display output from the AI and the database, and to pursue partnership organizations to disseminate information to the users and to integrate AquaSafe AI into their local water management systems. As we envision a solution to this problem, it is important to remember the need. People around the world are suffering greatly due to unreliable water access, an issue arising from both scarce water and information. AquaSafe AI proposes an effective and affordable means for gathering and maintaining data about life-sustaining water points across Africa as well as other water-scarce regions. Where safe water access is often unreliable, AquaSafe AI will facilitate a dependable system for monitoring water and advising aid.
So they did a ton of things there. And I'm not going to, this isn't a session on how to create a great presentation. That will be coming in the coming weeks. We'll talk about it at the end. But a couple things I point out. Number one, they did a phenomenal job of starting by telling a story, and a story that grabbed your heart. Images of young children and the issues, the struggles that they're facing. They made it relatable. They made it, they quantified the issue by giving us numbers and hard data related to the issue that they're having. They went from grabbing our heartstrings and telling us about the problem and getting us so that we were interested in the problem, to moving to what their solution looked like. And then moved quickly through their solution without getting overly technical. And once they were done with that, moved to where they were going next. What is the vision for moving this forward? That all came together to make them the second highest rated team in the proposal phase last year. All of that they did, that was all done using Adobe XD, or maybe they used Figma. I think they used Adobe XD, but Figma or Adobe XD for the mock-ups. Using Adobe Premiere for creating the video. And they used the Adobe Creative Cloud for all those video snippets that they used. All of them are free. And they just weave them together into their proposal video. Now, one thing that they did that was really smart was they had a team member working on that, or storyboarding it and thinking about it from this point in the competition to the due date. They didn't start, 5 days before things were due. They had one person whose job was to think about that video and plan it out all along the way. So take a lesson from them because they did a phenomenal job. Next thing we're going to talk about real quick are the expectations of your participation in this phase of the challenge. Number one, I expect you to submit a prototype, especially if you're in one of the top 20 teams. You took a spot from another team. You know, you made it and someone else didn't that would have if you didn't. So I expect you to put forth your best effort in actually creating a prototype and submitting it. Things happen. I know life happens. Things go the wrong way sometimes. So, you know, I'm not going to be angry if something happens. Talk to me about it. But I do expect you to put forth your best effort, to take it seriously that you took a slot from someone else, and to put your all into creating a prototype that you and you can be proud of, and that the Nittany Ai Alliance can be proud of putting in front of our reviewers. One other thing that can sometimes be confusing for everybody and problematic is that we've got a lot of teams. We not only have the top 20, but right now it looks like we've got at least 3 more teams that will be moving forward. That might go up to 5. So I've got 25 teams that I'm dealing with, many of which have 4 or 5 members on them. It's a lot of people. I cannot communicate with everyone on your team. I communicate with one single point of contact for each team. All of my communications to your team go to that one person. That one person is responsible for then disseminating that information to the rest of your team. If we need to schedule something, I work with that one person to schedule. That one person is responsible for scheduling the rest of their team. Okay. There is a single point of contact. Every team member is always welcome to come to the meetings, the biweekly meetings, any of those things. That's great. That would be fine. But I need that single point of contact, and that single point of contact should be your team lead. If you need to switch your team lead, perfectly fine. Let me know and we can work on that. And that leads into the last one, which is you can switch your teams up. That's fine. You can pivot on your ideas slightly if you need to. That's perfectly fine as well. But I need to know about any of those changes that happen, okay? Especially team members. Just keep me up to date, preferably through emails when things happen. Worst case scenario, we can talk about it during the biweeklies, but I would prefer to be notified as soon as you make any sort of change of team members or change in the actual prototype that you're building. Okay. And that leads us to the good part, which is the prizes. Now, for the top 20 teams, for those of you who are on those teams, you won $500 already. So the way that this works is in this phase, as I said, there are a lot of people. It is unreasonable for us to try to get this money out to 150, 200 people. So what happens in this phase of the challenge, and was spelled out in the terms and conditions that you signed for submitting, is that the award goes to the team lead for this phase. That is not the case for any future phase. Any future phase, it will be distributed to individual members of the team based on dollar amounts that we all agree on. But for this phase, the team lead will get the $500 transferred to them through your PSU account. The team lead is then responsible for doing whatever that you all decided to do with that money. Most teams split it amongst the team members equally. Some teams hold on to it to be able to fund pizza or whatever when you're having coding nights, to be able to buy stuff for the team, beverages, sometimes hardware, things like that. And the team lead simply manages that money for the team. What you do with it is up to you. It's a prize. It's not mine anymore. It's yours. So you can do with it whatever you would like. Patty should be reaching out to you, if she has not already, should be reaching out to you for the info she needs to get you the money this week. And then it takes about a week for it to show up in your Penn State account. It all depends on kind of the process and flow through Penn State. But it's pretty quick if you get us the information. If it takes you 3 weeks to get us the information we need, which is basically just your nines number and sometimes your citizens. Oh, why is it hard to say that at 8 o'clock at night? Citizenship status. If you don't get her that information right away, there obviously will be a delay in getting you the money. We cannot distribute it until she has the answers to her questions. Okay. For those of you who aren't in the top 20, Some of this will still stand for future phases of the challenge. You will all be awarded your awards through the Penn State account, but like I said, in the future, it will come to individual members rather than just a team lead. One other thing that some teams bring up and question, and some don't even think about, but I want to address it, which is intellectual property. If any of you are thinking about taking your solution and looking at commercializing it or doing something with it outside of the challenge, we encourage that. We love it. In fact, I'll help in any way that I can to help you make that a reality. But there are some realities for some of you. For undergraduates, this is nice and simple. Undergraduates, you own your intellectual property. Penn State has no right to your intellectual property except what they have, which is called a NERF, a non-exclusive royalty-free agreement. Basically, all that says is that Penn State, if it wants to use your solution for educational purposes, teaching it in a classroom or something like a good example is me showing a video to a future generation, a cohort of challenge participants. We're allowed to do that. We cannot monetize, we can't create a business out of it, we can't give it to anybody. It's very, very limited what we can do with it if you're an undergraduate. You own the IP. Graduate students, different story. When you become a graduate student at Penn State, as with most universities, you sign away your intellectual property rights when you join the university. So as long as you're doing work within your domain of study, Penn State owns your intellectual property. If you're a mixed team and you've got some graduate students and some undergraduate students, then the graduate students, you can, when you look at them, see Penn State's face. For the undergraduate students, they'd own their percentage of the intellectual property themselves. Okay. We could get into the details of all of this. It gets really, really complex. There are support systems available at Penn State that can walk you through all of this, including doing things like creating binding legal documents to agree to how your team's going to share IP and all of that. If you're interested, let me know. I'll walk you through all of that in a separate conversation because, like I said, it gets complex really quick. We're going to kind of wrap things up with talking about the tools at your disposal. And one of the things that we're going to do is during our one-on-one sessions, I'm going to kind of tune into exactly what you need, because there are a number of resources not on this slide that are available to you, but they're not just freely available. They're things that I have to connect you with. So we'll talk about that in our bi-weeklies, but these are some things that are available for everybody. I've already mentioned Discord and GroupMe. Basically, I'm going to be using GroupMe as a communication platform and primarily for reminders of due dates, reminders of events, reminders to register for things, those types of things. Discord is intended to be much more of a dialogue. It's me posting new data sources that I find. It's you asking technical questions. We've got a whole technical section in the Discord that's going to be monitored by our AI experts that will be able to give you feedback and help when you run into technical issues. So really great resource there. There are also a ton of other things, and we'll be posting events in the Discord as well. And we'll get to, oh, I didn't put it on this slide. I am so sorry. Usually I have a link on here for how to get to all of these. I will email that out to everybody when this is all done. So you've got the link to be able to find the links to the GroupMe and Discord and the like. The Nittany Ai Student Society is something that was kind of in place last year, but is really in place this year. They are a phenomenal resource for you. It's our student organization that is going to be holding those grind sessions and a number of different supporting events I'll talk about in a minute, all focused on helping you do the best you can within the challenge. And also, they're just a really great bunch of people. They want to help. They're interested in doing everything they can for you. It is up to you to engage them. It is up to you to ask for that help. I have already had a couple meetings this week where people said, I wish I had reached out to you earlier. Yes, you will always wish that you had reached out for some sort of support. The key is doing it before the deadline, doing it before the due date. Do it now, okay? Reach out to us, ask for help. We'll do whatever we can to assist you. Some of you may need some platform credits. If you're using one of the cloud platforms, AWS, GCP, Azure, IBM Watson, whatever the case may be, we've got an agreement with some of those organizations for more than the standard number of free credits. The link here, bit.ly/Nittany AI challenge credits, NAICC credits or credits, is where you will find instructions on how to get those free credits for each one of the major platforms. We also have, I've got a significant amount of GCP credits available, and we have a significant but less so number of Azure credits available as well. If you need any of those, you can just talk to me. AWS, challenging this year. They completely revamped their program, their credit program last year, and their credits are only available currently within a sandboxed environment that will not work for the challenge needs. The credits that we had available, which makes things much more challenging beyond just their base level free credits that they have. If you absolutely must use AWS and that's what you're planning on, and you have a need, let me know and I'll do what I can, although I cannot promise anything with AWS. GCP and Microsoft Azure have come to the table and helped us as best they could with giving us these credits for you. But Amazon is proving to be a little bit more challenging. We can also get some help on IBM Watson, although IBM Watson does not have the same kind of structure, so you probably won't run into any issues there. But if you need help, let us know. We have partnerships with all these companies. Okay. Data. One of the number one things that you need to start your projects are appropriate data to support your machine learning model. I have a large number of data sources posted in the Discord and at the link that I posted here. I'm up to like 90 different major data sources that have been used in the past for the challenge. If you need it, you can go there, find it, and there's probably something that can help you with your project. If there isn't, reach out to me and I will help you find the correct data. We also have partnership with Penn State libraries and data librarians there that can help us hone into specific data sets that might be able to help you. That doesn't mean that we can always help. Particularly medical data, mental health data sets can be challenging because they're protected. So I'm not saying that we can't help you, but understand that in those types of situations, it might be a little bit more challenging and there might be a little bit more lead time to find this stuff for you. Finally, the other tool is me. I'm here. I'm always here to help. We have our bi-weekly meetings. Oh, excuse me 1 second. Sorry, noise came on in the background. We will have our bi-weekly meetings, but at the same time, I am always available in between. You can reach out to me and ask for any help that you need, and I will do my best to assist you. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the supporting events that are in place before we talk about, I think there's one more. Yep. Before we go to questions. As you can see, there's a lot. I can't, not a single one of these, except for that last one. Oh, there's one more. Not a single one of these, but the second to last one are required. Obviously, your pitch videos are due. That's required. All the rest of these are optional, but they're all things that are going to help you to submit the best proposal you can. All of these will be available in person and virtually. So everyone should be able to take advantage of them. You'll notice every single Tuesday, there's a grind session where you can get assistance on anything that you need in your project. And then there are a few other ones that I'll point out. I already mentioned the design thinking workshop on Wednesday. The following Wednesday on the 15th, part of the challenge is setting you up so that you can get the best job that you can possibly get to get your dream career started. And part of that requires you marketing yourself and your participation inside this challenge. So what we're going to do on February 15th is we've got a team from LinkedIn coming in and they're going to do a presentation basically on how to use LinkedIn to get visibility for yourself as an individual, get noticed by recruiters, and to leverage your experience in the Nittany AI challenge to advance your career. They talk about the nitty-gritty behind their algorithms and how to game those algorithms. It is a really, really good workshop. They did it for us last year as well. I highly recommend that one. On February 22nd, we have some individuals from Lockheed Martin coming in to talk about how AI is being used at Lockheed Martin, and also just to meet you all. In specifically, and this relates to one of our teams this year, specifically, they're bringing in their fire suppression team at Lockheed Martin that is focused in on AI and machine learning for addressing large-scale fires. So that directly relates to one of our top 20 teams this year. But Lockheed Martin will be in. Good professional networking opportunity if you're interested in that. On the first, Pat Lisi, who's our president in Nittany Ai Student Society, and I will do a session on how to create the perfect pitch video. So that's with 2 weeks in advance. We'll talk about, breaking down that video I showed you, breaking down the better points of it, what they did, what worked, what didn't, as well as giving a couple other examples and helping you in creating your pitch video. On the 14th, we're not only having a grind session, but I will be there for office hours. So if you need any last minute help, I will be there. And then finally, by noon on the 15th, your pitch videos are due. And then the Nittany Ai Student Society, and this is the only one that's not going to be available virtually. And so I apologize for that, but it's only so much we can do. On the evening of the 15th, the Nittany Ai Student Society is going to host a party, basically, just to celebrate everything that you did, relieve some stress, play some games, listen to some music. We usually bring some switches and set them up on the huge screen TVs and have things like competitions. We usually do Smash Brother competitions and things like that. Just a good way to unwind and relax after it's all done. And that will be before we get started on the MVP phase of this whole thing. So with all that said, questions. Does that all make sense? Are there questions about how it works? How do you submit the project description? Email it to me. Okay, so that will just be sent directly to me through an email. That's perfectly fine. From this point forward, since there's only really 20 of you, most of it's going to be directly between me and you. We'll be able to forego the formal submission systems. Questions? Comments, concerns? Yeah.
Hey, Brad, this is Patrick Kudo. Thank you for all that information. It's very helpful. You mentioned, so once we submit our project proposal, our video and documentation, you mentioned that there would be like a Q&A session with the review panel, and I don't know if you mentioned when that would occur. Like, would that be within a week of submitting the our video and documentation, or would that be, ASAP?
Yeah, so I am pulling it up right here because I don't have the date committed to memory yet. So review proof. Okay. So the submission is then. There it is. So that Q&A session with the reviewers should happen on March 21st.
Okay.
There is a slight possibility that it will be on the 22nd, but probably March 21st. One of the things that we do is we want to accommodate as many reviewers as possible. They won't all be able to be there. You can imagine wrangling 35 executive schedules and finding a common 2-hour period is a little challenging. So what we do is we give them a poll. We say, which one of these two are you available on? And then we pick the one with the highest number available. But we're shooting for the 21st.
Okay. And then, so that answers my question. I guess another question I had was, in watching that video presentation, so I say if like your whole thing is creating an app, and say, you have features A, B, and C that you want to have finished, and you only have, say, features A and B complete. Do you talk about features C, like, this is not complete yet, but, by MVP, we want to have this done. I don't know if that's a thing that, you say there's some limitations, but
No, never admit defeat.
never.
And we'll talk about this in detail as we talk about kind of strategy behind all of this and how to spin things. But in general, when you do these types of videos, you never say we failed to, or we weren't able to, or anything of that sort. It is always we accomplished our goal of blank, whatever it is that you accomplished. And we are looking forward to moving forward and building. And then you talk about that C that you didn't get to. You talk about that as your next phase of development. You always spin it in a positive way, that you knocked it out of the park and achieved everything you could have possibly hoped to achieve. And they should be impressed by that. And now I'm going to also give you the vision of where I'm going to go in the future. Okay. And that's something that we'll talk about in great detail during that how to create a pitch video session, as well as a little bit in our bi-weeklies just before the videos are due. Okay. I saw a hand up. I don't know who had their hand up. I just saw it pop up.
Yep. Hi, that's me.
Okay. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. Hi. Amazing sessions. Thank you for the information. My question is regarding hardware. So our project is totally hardware based. There's a very little interface on the app. Mostly it will be on cloud and hardware. So when we are trying to showcase that, how do we go about it? Because it will be something like it's a little bit of medicinal category. So we will. It is possible that we may not have an actual thing that we are trying to demonstrate. So, like, say we are trying to demonstrate asthma attack or something like a seizure. Yep. So while making the pitch video, we are not able to induce a seizure in a person, right? So yes. So how do we do that? I mean, again, it's a question maybe for the pitch video session, but just.
Yeah, no, it's a good question to ask, because these are, again, the things that you have to be thinking about now. So the key is what sort of visuals tell the story that you need to tell. For the hardware side of things, you mentioned that specifically. For the hardware side, if you don't have the hardware built, that's perfectly fine. But do you have CAD drawings? Do you have something that can illustrate what this looks like? Even sketches. Things that can illustrate that you have thought through what the hardware design is going to look like, and that you will get to that in the MVP phase of the challenge. One thing that you will all hear me say again and again and again throughout this phase, and those of you who have been through this with me before have heard me say this, you have to approach this in the way I describe as the onion approach. You have to decide what is the key value proposition, what is the key value add that your solution brings to the world. What is that one discrete little thing that is at the core of what you're going to do? That is what you need to build in this prototype phase. Now, ideally, you get that done and you've got a bunch of time left over. So once you've got that core center, now add a layer of the onion and add one more. If you've got time left after that, then you add a layer and you add a layer. You add a layer. Each team's layers are going to look different. For some of you, the second layer is going to be hardware. For some of you, the second layer is going to be user interface. For some of you, the second layer is going to be improving your algorithm and the accuracy of the algorithm. It's going to be different for every team, and you have to talk about that, and I'll talk about that with you. But you need to make certain that you're showing that you've done that core, and don't get distracted with creating an MVP video at the prototype phase. Okay.
Got it. And just one more question. So about the intellectual property thing. So like in my team, all of us are graduate students.
Okay.
But we are not receiving any assistantship or any kind of employment from the university. We are just as good as undergraduate. I mean, in that way. So is this still the rules of intellectual property the same?
Yep. That's if you are a graduate student, if you are part of a graduate program at Penn State, you've signed away your IP. It's part of the paperwork you do when you join the university. And that's it's not uncommon. It's not tied to an assistantship or anything like that. I don't have the link in front of me right now, but the policy is Penn State policy IP01. You can pull it up and it'll go into the deep legalese of all of it. But that's not to say that, you wouldn't get compensation if this idea goes out and, and you make $1 million on it. And this gets into the details of all of it, which we're not going to dive into, but you are the inventor of record on anything that you create. You are due any sort of compensation for anything that is any monetization that happens with that idea. And if you want to pursue it and do it yourself, Penn State will simply license it back to you for free, let you do whatever you want with it. And then if you hit a trigger point, let's say you make $5 million on this idea, all of a sudden Penn State will come knocking at your door and be like, oh yeah, you remember us? It was 5%.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of the way that it works. I mean, I'm obviously oversimplifying things, but
Of course, yes.
it's not as though you cannot pursue this in an entrepreneurial effort if you want. It just gets more complicated for grad students.
All right. Because I had a discussion with the people at Innovation Hub, the launch box at PNC.
Yeah.
So they told me something like, for the IP rights part only, they were like, if you build something in the Innovation Hub, for some reason it is excluded for Penn State. I don't know. So probably I shall. I think maybe I'll talk to them and get it clarified because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because,
again, I don't want to get too deep into it. We can
Yeah.
talk about this later, but I will mention 2 resources for all of you. If you
Yeah, sure.
happen to be here at UP, and there are similar resources at other campuses, so we can talk about which ones those are. But here at UP, there's the Entrepreneurship Assistance Clinic. They will help you with things like team agreements and divvying up intellectual property across your team, who owns what, and having that in writing. And then second, there's the IP clinic, which is actually staffed by attorneys, lawyers here at Penn State, and they will help you with your intellectual property concerns. They are the only people you should listen to about the details of your intellectual property. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Do not listen to anyone else that says this is the way it will work. Talk to the
Oh, okay. Got it. Basically, my concern was at this stage that are we allowed to put this the product we are making with in this competition and other competitions like say Microsoft Imagine Cup or maybe Google Challenge or something like that. We can do that, right?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Most
thank
of this only really comes down to when you look to commercialize. So
All
if
right.
you're not looking to commercialize, then most of this does not apply.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions, concerns, anything that I might be able to answer? This is not a speak now or forever hold your peace type situation. We'll be in contact with each other regularly, so we can talk as things go along. But I just want to make certain you have the opportunity if you need it right now.
We're gonna have this video recording for to
Yep.
check wherever I can.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will post both this recording as well as the slides tomorrow in both the Discord and the GroupMe. Okay, and as I
Thank you.
had mentioned during the presentation, I goofed and forgot to put in the link to all of our links. Actually, if you all can forgive me for doing 2 things at once for a second, I will get the link and just put it here so you all have it. This will be the link to all of our stuff, all of the places that we live online, including the Discord and the GroupMe, as well as all of the communication channels for the Nittany Ai Student Society, which is different. You'll see we're all over the place. We've got like 23 different links on there. The 2 of importance, and they're toward the top: 2023 Nittany Ai Challenge GroupMe and the Discord. Okay. If you're part of the GroupMe, you'll get everything. The Discord just has a lot of additional nice resources on it. I'll be the first one to admit we're really bad with our socials right now. We lost our team member that focused on that. So some of our socials haven't had posts in months. So follow us, but don't expect a flood of information there. Any other questions?
When it comes to the question stage for the prototype phase, will it be like a Zoom call where we're answering questions live, or will it be like last year where it's GroupMe?
So the hope is that we will be using a special software for it that we used last year that allows you to go in and actually go into rooms with the reviewers. There is a slight possibility, because it hasn't gotten through Penn State contracts yet, that we won't be able to use that platform. And if for some reason we cannot use that platform, we might fall back to a chat Q&A. It is not my desire or plan, but a little bit of this is out of my hands right now. I'm working with Penn State to get this finalized. Okay. So the hope is that it's going to be a live Q&A with kind of these rooms that you go into, similar to Zoom breakout rooms, but a little bit more robust. And if any of you were in the challenge 2 years ago, we used this tool 2 years ago for the challenge. Any other questions? All right, we'll leave it there then. Thank you for your time and attention. I will send all these links out as fast as I can tomorrow to all of you. So keep an eye out for that in the GroupMe and the like. If you have not gotten back to Patty about any of the questions she's asked you, especially for scheduling, make certain you do that. And also keep your eye out for the email from her about getting the award for those of you in the top 20 teams. So that can get processed to you as fast as possible. Okay. It's not a big deal if we have to sit on it, but we'd prefer to get it into your hands as fast as we can. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
so much,
Appreciate
Brad.
it.
Thank
care.
you.